Welcome to this week's edition of Taiwan Outlook. I'm your host, Chi-Chen Lo. Overseas Taiwanese have been a very important source for the international support of Taiwan's political democracy and economic prosperity. And the Overseas Compatriot Affairs Commission has played a very important role in linking the overseas Taiwanese with Taiwan. And joining us today is the Minister Fu-Mei Chang of the Overseas Compatriot Affairs Commission. Minister Chang, welcome to our program.
Thank you.
As we know that the OCAC has been very important in bringing the overseas Taiwanese closer to Taiwan and in getting their support for Taiwan's foreign policies. As we know that the government of Taiwan just launched a new campaign for the WHO bid. And could you tell us what's new about this year's approach?
Well, first of all, we started to use Taiwan, the name Taiwan, and then apply for the full membership rather than just an observer status in the WHO, the World Health Assembly. And we have done that for the past 10 years, deliberately not to touch on the sovereignty issue. But after 10 years, we decided that's just not moving us anymore. And so we thought it would be good to try to ask for a full membership in the World Health Organization.
But what made the government decide to change the approach?
I think people living in Taiwan, as well as people living abroad, they felt it's about time that we have to make our decision clear. What do you want? And if just being an observer in a week-long or WHA, it's not that meaningful. So it's difficult to have a breakthrough, but we may as well just announce it that that's our final goal.
Some countries, including the United States, worry that this new approach violates the so-called five no's preached by the president. Do you think that's a violation of the so-called five no's?
No, not exactly, because we are not going to change the name of the country. It's still legally Republic of China. And by adopting Taiwan, this is a commonly known name, like people address to Taiwan by this name. And so I think we did not violate President's former pledge.
But on the other hand, some people argue that even if you change the name of the application, the difficulty of getting into the WHO is still very obvious. How do you respond to that?
That's true. If you cannot make it to the observer status, it's even harder to be admitted as a full member that we know quite well. But still, we need to take the first step. That's a very important step. And that has really encouraged a lot of the overseas Taiwanese communities.
In addition to the previous two approaches, including the so-called observer status and also the meaningful participation on the part of
That's
Taiwan,
right.
the president wrote a letter to the Director General of the WHO, Margaret Chan. What do you think she will reply to President Chan's request?
I think they are going to go back to the original statement saying, well, Taiwan is not a country, it's not a member of the United Nations, so Taiwan should be excluded, period. I don't think,
But is there other examples showing that countries who are not members of the UN can also be part of or member of the WHO?
That's true, but we all know we have a very bad neighbor, and I don't think China would let us get through so easily.
But on the other hand, some countries support Taiwan's participation in the WHO activities. Do you think that could be a compromising approach or proposal that Taiwan can accept?
As far as I can tell, in addition to the full membership application, we still are going to ask for the observership and also the meaningful participation. So there are 3 steps. Okay, so it's not going to influence our previous commitment.
And Minister Chang, yourself and also the OCAC are also involved, have been involved in the past few years in the WHO campaign. Could you tell us what have you been doing in supporting Taiwan's WHO bid?
Yeah. I've been quite involved with the WHO thing. When I was living in the States, I was active in FAPA and we've been trying very hard to persuade people from the U.S. government or some people in the parliament. You know, I shouldn't say just Congress.
Okay.
And so after I took the job as a minister, the first thing I did was in the year 2001, I started a seminar to train all the medical professions from all over the world. Every year we gather about 30-ish physicians and pharmacists and people in public health, and get them in Taiwan and networking, and then teach them how to do the lobby. And I remember first time we invited Dr. Masao Yu. He's a very close friend of Congressman from Ohio, Sherrod Brown.
Sherrod Brown.
Yeah.
He's a senator now, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And he was very sympathetic to Taiwanese cause. So he invited Dr. Yu to come, and he's a group leader and taught everybody how to do the lobbying. I think that's very important. So step by step, we trained a lot of people who are aware of our strategy and know exactly what to do.
How is the OCAC involved in the WHO campaign?
We try to organize all the overseas communities, especially people like physicians from North America. They have something called NATMA, North America Taiwanese Medical Association. And like 2 years ago, we persuaded them to send official delegations to go to Geneva. And so they sent more than 100 people. And I made it very attractive because they could go and sit in the WHA session, and afterwards they can go sightseeing. So it's a combined vacation tour, and also they could fulfill their goal. And what we have done is, since we have mobilized so many overseas Taiwanese to go to Geneva, I felt I had to go to show my support. So I've been to Geneva 3 times. In the year 2004, I couldn't make it, so I asked my deputy to go. And I'm planning to go this year as well. And we have to go there, and then we have the banners all over, and the banners are in English, in German, and French, Spanish, and whatever language is available, and showing people that we are determined to get into WHO.
Mr. Zhang, you just mentioned that you've been to Geneva 3 times at least for the WHO campaign. And from your personal experience, do you think that Taiwan, the international support for Taiwan's WHO bid is increasing over the years?
Yes. Yeah.
Or, you know?
Because after we have mobilized all those medical professions worldwide, so now we have medical alliance in Japan, in Europe, in Canada, in the States, and also now we have a worldwide medical alliance group. And they are very active, like in every year, April 7th, that's our International Health Day. They will go for some kind of press conference, okay? And other than that, we ask people all over the world, try to have some kind of seminars going on, or press conference, or letter writing campaigns, you know, aiming at the press and then their congressional leaders. And I think the result is very clear. We now have the US and Japan and Canada, and to some extent European alliance in support of our meaningful participation.
Are the overseas Taiwanese communities in Europe also active in participating in Taiwan's these campaigns?
Yes, we have gathered quite a few medical professionals from Europe, but we need to continue. And like the year 2003, we went over there, and since there's a Dr. Urbani's widow, she lived in Italy, we got some contact through overseas Taiwanese in Rome, and finally we invited her to go to Geneva, and we sent her some presents and commemoration. So,
as we know that some countries, including the U.S. and Japan, publicly stated their support for Taiwan's observer status.
That's right.
For the past 2 years. And this year we somewhat introduced a new approach of full application of the full membership. Do you think that the U.S. will reserve their support of Taiwan's observer status?
it looks like, I mean, in the recent newspaper coverage, U.S. seemed to be a little bit hesitant. They were afraid that Taiwan may take a bold step, which may endanger their relationship with China. So they said PRC it's important to them as well. But we have to go very cautiously, I think.
But if that's the case, you know, we didn't really get, it's very difficult for us to get the support from the U.S. and Japan. And now all in a sudden they, you know, drop or even reserve their support of Taiwan. Do you think that's a trade-off that we have to make in order to get into the WHO?
Well, there are some criticisms about that, but I think we have to take one step forward. So
that's a necessary step.
Yeah, actually, I'm not in the position of making that decision, and we are team members.
That's right.
Right, and so the president called the shot, and then we follow, and Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Health Ministry all go along. So we are going to work together.
Yeah. What do you think is the key obstacle that Taiwan's efforts for the WHO bid?
China.
But is there any way that we can reach some sort of consensus or compromise, you know, with the PRC?
They have signed a memorandum, a secret memorandum, and saying that whatever matters have to do with Taiwan, you need to get the clearance from Beijing first.
That's right.
That almost shut the whole door. Yeah.
But is there any way that we can make appeal to the international community by saying that the secret memorandum is illegitimate and illegal?
Right. We need to really put them on the spot.
What would be the key campaign theme when you go to Geneva this time?
Well, we should stress that there's human rights for all the Taiwanese and their medical welfare, and also by denying or excluding Taiwan, it's going to endanger the health of a lot of world population, right? Because Taiwan has a very close proximity with China, and there are a lot of traveling, and like avian flu, or we don't know if there's going to be another epidemic like SARS. You know, so we need to make sure that there's no gap in the international health web.
Yeah. During the same week of the World Health Assembly, will the OCAC mobilize the support of the overseas Taiwanese community for Taiwan's WHO bid?
Actually, we have done quite a bit already in the past few weeks. And we have accumulated a lot of letter writing campaigns and also press conference. But I don't know how many people are going to show up. Most of them pay their own ways, so I see them when I get there. You know, and we're busy distributing the pamphlets, and it's very touching. I remember one year it was raining so hard, and a lot of people got quite wet. You know, but they are still saying we need to speak out for Taiwan.
How about foreign governments, including the congressmen and legislators and so on? Are you also in helping getting their support of Taiwan's WHO
Well, we
bid?
try to, and mostly they are very sympathetic, but they say, well, it's too bad. China is a hindrance.
Yeah. And how about media, public opinion?
I think for media, generally, they all recognize it's important to include Taiwan. And for their health's own sake, right? If they do not have Taiwan along with the other countries it's not so good.
Yeah.
You know.
As you just mentioned earlier, that the new approach taken by Taiwan this year is that we apply for the full membership in the name of Taiwan. And as you know, that there are many name change campaigns in Taiwan already. And we just noticed that the your commission has now been changed into Overseas Compatriot Affairs Commission. In the past, it was Overseas Chinese Affairs Commission. So when we come back, we'll talk about what's the rationale behind the change of the name of the commission, and also the name change campaigns all around the world.
All right.
And let's take a short break. Stay with us.